We are on the threshold of an explosion in innovation, and crypto is symptomatic of it. The seeds for what is about to happen were planted during the 20 years that ended with the tech and telecom bubble. Those seeds have been gestating for 20 to 25 years, sometimes 30 years, and are now beginning to blossom. And that's not even the right word. They are exploding into existence. So we think there are 5 major platforms, 14 different technologies that are all getting ready to move into the sweet spot of their S-curves. And there are going to be convergences between and among these technologies. So you're going to have one S-curve feeding another, and creating explosive energy and explosive growth. And I think in the crypto space, we're going to see blockchain technology and artificial intelligence converge, cause explosive reactions. So it's pretty exciting. Just to get back to investing in the future, when I was trying to explain to someone what I wanted to do before starting ARK, and who's not in our business, he said to me, "Oh, you mean that in the future of investing is investing in the future?" And I said, "You got it." Well, now, when I started in the business, that's the only way people thought about investing. And then we went through the tech and telecom bust, and then the 08-09 meltdown. And we ended up with huge risk aversion in the markets and a tendency to invest very much like the broad-based indices out there. In other words, not adding much more value than the indices themselves. And the indices are where they are because of what has happened historically. The largest companies, the most heavily weighted companies in these indices are there because of their past success. But if we're right, and all of this disruptive innovation is about to explode, well, they are in harm's way. We've been evolving our point of view on Ether. When we started our analysis, we were pretty much, and this was with Chris, Bitcoin was what we needed to understand first, but we were keeping our eye on all of the other assets, and we stuck pretty closely to the thesis, the FAT protocol thesis that Chris's partner, Joel Monegro, came up with at Union Square Ventures, which says that the value accrual will take place more at the currency level. And we believe there would be only a few currencies in the world, much like there are today. We thought Bitcoin would be the reserve currency, and we were looking for the other currencies. And Ether was showing up as a very strong second. And I have been surprised at how Ether and the Ethereum network is mushrooming with stable coins, NFTs, decentralized finance. It's clearly satisfying a huge unmet need. One of those needs is yield out there. And we see that in the fixed income markets, the ridiculous rallies that have taken place, taking junk bond yields down to, just a couple of 100 basis points above treasuries. That's kind of nuts. So this hunger for yield is being satisfied by a much more efficient financial ecosystem. And I think many more people are more open-minded to it as well. Let's see, one of the things that has struck me from the beginning, and when Chris started at ARK, which was very close to the beginning of the firm, I remember saying very early on, follow the developers. Well, that metric, Ethereum is off the charts, whereas Bitcoin is steady as she goes, still increasing, steady as she goes, but clearly Ethereum, decentralized finance, NFTs, have hit a responsive chord. I think bringing the creator community into this ecosystem is, helping it go a little bit viral more quickly than we would have expected. My experience in innovation is when you're onto something early, there are bound to be problems, and when it blows up is when you invest. That's when you really think about the investing. And I'll say, just in terms of Ether and the NFTs and the creator community, I was listening to one of Placeholder's calls, and they featured the CEO of Async Art. And I had never heard async art. I had never heard about this phenomenon at all. He starts speaking, and I'm on a walk, and I am smiling from ear to ear. I have not smiled that wide a smile since I first heard of the internet. Banks are beginning to see how much this is going to hollow them out. I think part of the heightened regulatory talk here in the United States and elsewhere, but it's really taken off in the last few months here, is because what you are talking about, the yield, has attracted so much interest that the banks themselves are beginning to feel it. I have been shocked. I listened to especially JP Morgan's call. It's a good kind of staple to understand what's going on in the banking industry. And, in a V-shaped recovery, Jamie Dimon was telling us that their loan growth would be negative through the end of this year. I said, what? And I began to think, could it be? Could what's going on in the Ethereum world already be impacting banks? Prices are determined at the margin. And so this could be really hurting the banks. And I think I'm going to take a very close look during the next few earnings seasons to see if we can dimension it. It doesn't seem like it is big enough yet, but I'm beginning to wonder, the search for yield, which again, the extremes, the bond market in the traditional world, I believe is in a bubble, certainly on the corporate credit side, which is where the risk is. And I can't help but believe that others believe the same and are searching elsewhere for yield. My aha moment was after Chris had really written the paper, Could Bitcoin Serve the Role of Money? We're just working from a very basic level. And we were talking about a $6 billion market cap at the time, or network value, as we were calling it. And we had Art Laffer take a look at this paper. And he looked at it and helped us. We wanted it to be absolutely correct from an economic point of view. He looked at it and he looked up and he said, wow. He said, this is what I've been looking for all my life. This is a rules-based monetary policy, a global rules-based monetary policy. And I ended up saying, oh, okay, well, if that's true, how big could this become? And he said, well, how big is the US monetary base? And at that time it was $4.5 trillion. Now it's $8 trillion, because he was dimensioning it as though it would be the reserve currency, a reserve currency out there. So a global rules-based monetary system, hugely important for humanity, I believe. And I share Art's view. I was educated by him, so that's not surprising. But and then I think the idea, again, Chris wrote the book. We're dealing here with a new asset class, also for investors. unlike anything we've seen before, and unlocking huge productivity and creating inclusion like we've never seen before globally. So I think, and decentralized finance is just mushrooming as we see. So, it's going viral.
Our other favorite topic, you know what it's going to be? Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
5 years from now, what's it worth?
If we're right and companies continue to diversify their cash into something like Bitcoin, and institutional investors start allocating 5% of their funds towards, I'll just say Bitcoin for right now, because we did that, we framed it for Bitcoin, could be for other cryptos as well. We believe that the price will be tenfold of where it is today. So instead of 45,000, over 500,000.
Do regulators, especially US regulators, need to buy into this in a major way? I would also say that we just saw it in the last week. Brian Armstrong runs Coinbase. You have a stake in Coinbase, has now gotten into a somewhat bitter feud with the SEC over how the ability to offer effectively a yield product on some of these cryptocurrencies, specifically Bitcoin, will work.
Yes. I think regulators, our working assumption from the beginning was that, and this was based on meeting with them, meeting regulators, both state and local and federal, was that no regulator wanted to be blamed from preventing the next big technology breakthrough to happen in the US. And that has proven true. Now we've got Chairman Gary Gensler. I'm really happy he understands crypto and understands the merits of Bitcoin in particular. He is a regulator though, and he's a hardcore regulator. What Coinbase did, I mean, I was shocked when I saw Wells notice. Are you kidding? They haven't even released the product. Like, what is this? And I think what that Wells notice is doing, it's a call out by regulators saying, we got to discuss this stuff because this is happening very quickly. And